Alright, so right now, the Raiden Shogun to me very much feels like the face of Electro, and I don't just mean that canonically. I for one have actually been using the character a whole lot, however it is a bit hard to forget another Electro character in leadership by the name of BEIDOU. Pre-Raiden Shogun, BEIDOU actually saw a whole lot more playtime from me, and unfortunately on account of their lack of burst synergy with one another, it ends up being one or the other. For the longest time I thought BEIDOU was pretty cool, but it wasn't until Eula was coming out that I truly went and invested into her and Fischl. However, with the absurd synergy to be found between Eula and A, BEIDOU has somewhat fallen out of grace with my go-to team for her. Which is a bit of a bummer because to me, although I haven't gotten her talents all the way up just yet, she is one of the coolest 4 stars in the game. Now there are a lot of really cool and top tier 4 stars in the game right now, but to me BEIDOU is a free-to-play main that immediately commands respect. Being a master of her counter mechanic is just a really cool concept to me. General Genshin gameplay isn't all too complex, and so that extra layer of desired finesse can be wonderful. So with all this in mind, I wanted to try something a bit different with BEIDOU. Typically BEIDOU and Fischl are the ultimate pairing, and if you go BEIDOU, you'll want to go Fischl. And so I decided to rock the boat just a bit by replacing Fischl with KUJOU SARA. Hello kings, queens, and majesties, welcome to WhaleStat, I am Sliceable Otaku. With this team, BEIDOU is going to be our main DPS, with KUJOU SARA serving as her buffer. Now Sara is a peculiar sort of unit in the sense that she was clearly designed with the Raiden Shogun in mind. But be that as it may, BEIDOU is a pirate and she takes as she pleases, so welcome to the crew, Sara. Now I must admit that especially in the case of KUJOU SARA, constellations make a major difference, particularly at Constellation 2 and Constellation 6. Honestly, it's not that she's unusable prior to C2, but personally it would be a bit too frustrating to make it work. And that's because essentially the source of Sara's viability comes in the form of her crow feathers. After she uses her elemental skill, the next fully charged bow shot will leave one behind at the point of impact. And there shouldn't be too much of a rush here because she does have 18 seconds to place this shot. And thanks to her passive, the charge time is quickened during this, making it easier to pull off. Now you can hit an enemy with this shot if you really want to, but for the sake of assurance, you would probably be better off placing it on the ground before you. Now this buff is actually pretty brief at only 6 seconds, but in the case of BEIDOU, I won't say that it is a total deal breaker. And Sara also places a crow feather within the AoE of her burst, mind you. At C2, a mini crow feather is now placed at the initial point of her elemental skill's teleportation, which despite dealing less damage, provides the very same attack buff. And so with that, as opposed to having to aim your shots and such, you can just E and switch. This makes our lives so much easier. However, do bear in mind that without landing our aim shot, we do miss out on some particles, which are important for both Sara and BEIDOU on account of their pricey bursts. And so for that reason, if it is not too much trouble, I do charge and land my shots on opponents at times. Now at C6, the electro damage of characters buffed by Sara's elemental burst have their crit damage increased by 60%. Now that is a lot, however I do not want you to overvalue this. Again, this is only 6 seconds to work with, so we are talking about a pretty limited time frame. This also only works in the case of buffs from her burst, which is a bit unfortunate, and lastly, it is only applied to electro damage. MiHoYo clearly did not want this character to get too crazy. But with that being said, this provides the potential for some insane counter numbers, and further empowers BEIDOU's own burst. And as opposed to the Raiden Shogun and several other characters now who change their stance and whatnot, BEIDOU is able to pass the benefits of her burst off to other characters, so there is no problem with switching here. You can rush off to Sara to get a buff and bring it to wherever you want to. And so in that sense, although Sara was made for the Raiden Shogun and the two work wonderfully together, BEIDOU is able to make use of her in ways that A just can't. Now in regards to artifacts, BEIDOU is stronger than ever. 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fate is incredible. At 2-piece, we are looking at an increase of 20% to energy recharge, which we certainly benefit from, as BEIDOU's burst is absolutely amazing with a steep cost. With 4-piece, that is an increase to our burst damage equal to 25% of our energy recharge to a maximum of 75%. And allow me to make it clear to you that in BEIDOU's case, we want to avoid getting too carried away with energy recharge here. And I say that because with no investment into energy recharge beyond the set bonus, we are looking at a 30% burst damage increase, which is phenomenal all on its own. A bit more can't hurt, but it really shouldn't be our utmost priority with this set. With that being said, we will want an attack sands, electro goblet, and either crit rate or crit damage circlet, the usual. Now alternatively, we can dial back on the burst damage here a bit and have it be a 20% buff with 2-piece Noblesse Oblige and gain a 15% electro damage bonus with 2-piece Thundering Fury. Again, I pretty much avoided electro characters prior to the release of Eula, so I don't have any good Thundering Fury artifacts. However, 2-piece Thundering Fury can be replaced by 2-piece Gladiators or 2-piece Shimenawa's Reminiscence, which provides the same set bonus, which I do have good artifacts for. But in such cases, we will actually want to have some energy recharge substats, at least enough to get us up to where we would have been with the emblem set, so 120% or more. Now in regards to Beidou's weapon here, my go-to and arguably her best in slot is Wolf's Gravestone, which I do make a point to use because of how mine is at Refinement 3 on account of how dirty Staff of Homa did me way back when. Thankfully, it's pretty aesthetically pleasing. But besides it, I think one of the most badass weapons you can have on Beidou would be the 4-star Battle Pass weapon, Serpent Spine. Every 4 seconds she is on the field, at base she will do 6% more damage while taking 3% more damage to a maximum of 5 stacks. Stacks which do not reset once she is off field, but will be reduced by 1 whenever she takes damage. Now this is an incredibly badass gamble that may be offset by her ability to counter attacks, and I just love that. And the crit rate substat just makes C6 Sara and her crit damage buff all the more valuable. Now you can pretty much make any of the 5-star claymores out right now work with her. But despite its ridiculousness, the new luxurious Sea Lord claymore is pretty great as well. I also think that double counters on account of Sacrificial Greatsword can be a whole lot of fun too. Now as for KUJOU Sara, again her job is to buff, and so I go with 4-piece Noblesse Oblige on her. So that is a 20% increase to her buff damage at 2-piece, followed by a 20% attack increase for everyone for 12 seconds after she uses her burst. And the way Sara's burst works, only one character can benefit at a time, so at least with this, I won't feel too bad about switching and such. And it only serves to make Beidou that much mightier for those 6 seconds. Stat priority is going to be pretty standard as well, with the exception that besides an attack sands, you can alternatively go with an energy recharge one. We honestly don't need her to be a major damage dealer, and if we have 200% energy recharge, that is 2.4 energy for the entire team whenever the radius of our buff hits opponents once every 3 seconds. For her weapons, I use Elegy for the end. The energy recharge substat is much appreciated, and the ability to further buff the entire team after 4 stacks is great for her. A lot of people use Skyward Heart for the sake of making her burst hit harder, as it can actually do an impressive amount of damage, but I don't have that weapon, and I don't think we need Sara to do crazy damage here. With that being said, a lot of the 4-star options are damage oriented, so it is what it is. Sacrificial Bow is there if you need energy recharge, and with that team battery passive she has, may yield extra value. And Stringless is there if you want extra burst damage, and additionally a bit of extra skill damage. As for our other teammates, I'd like to think that there are many options. 4-piece Viridescent Sucrose or Kazuha can work wonders for grouping enemies together for these two and shredding resistances. However, for me personally, I much prefer Kazuha's gameplay to that of Sucrose, and so I go with him. He is a favorite of mine and an actual member of Beidou's crew, so it only feels right. From there, just like pretty much every team in existence, if you're afraid of getting hit, you can go with Zhongli, but really with Beidou's counter, once you're used to it, you shouldn't be all too afraid. I like Xingqiu for the extra damage and electro charge reaction, but there's always King Bennett for even more buffing if you would like. But I personally do not have that many good Noblesse artifacts to spread around. In the end, Fischl is still the definitive unit to pair with Beidou, but in the event that she is on another team, or we're dealing with the current Spiral Abyss, wherein energy accumulation is not an issue at all, I think Sara can be a pretty fun replacement. And at the very least, having that additional versatility for all the Beidou users out there that still manages to be free-to-play friendly is incredible. And I know constellations are major for Sara, but to be fair, this is a 4-star unit, and so there is the potential for gradual accumulation of her constellations over the course of the game's lifespan. But with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know if you decide to try it out down below, and if you'd like to see more content from us, be sure to subscribe to Whale Stat with notifications on. I've been your host, Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.